Hey everyone, Harry here to talk about day 9 in New York versus Trump. I again had the privilege of being in the courtroom, a pretty full day. It began with the end of the testimony of the banker to whom Michael Cohen went to open an account in order to secure the $131,000 that they paid Stormy Daniels with. We went through everything, and he made it clear that he had no knowledge that it could have involved a political candidate, that it could have involved an adult film star, as he was asked, that it could have involved anything that it actually did involve. It was just framed in this anodyne real estate consulting kind of thing. Actually, when they later found out about it, when the Stormy Daniels news hit the headlines, they canceled all his accounts except for the mortgage. You can't cancel that, but they didn't want to be doing business with him. But at the time, it was just a consultancy. Now, they did, and this is an interesting theme. We're seeing a lot of this from prosecution witnesses, basically an anticipatory airing of that Michael Cohen as a difficult, challenging person to deal with. So the banker, Fayero, had already testified. He inherited him when he came to the bank because he was known for dealing with challenging folks. And there were just a few little asides, like with Michael Cohen, it was always urgent and it had to be done so quickly. And part of his job in general was to persuade people to sort of calm down. So this sense of him as overwrought and frantic came through. And then anyway, they went through the whole opening of the account and then funding it with a home equity loan, basically like a second mortgage that you can just draw from. And his drawing $131,000, which is what went to Stormy Daniels through her lawyer, Keith Davidson, who we're going to hear about in a moment. After that, there were a couple witnesses who basically the Trump team forced to fly from far away just to give testimony that normally you stipulate to, but they're being very uncooperative. This is part of the sort of back and forth that resulted in the DAs not being so forthcoming about who the witnesses are going to be. So they wanted to play a couple C-SPAN tapes of Trump at his own rallies and a quick excerpt of a deposition. And they made the deposition guy from the company come out, and they made the C-SPAN archivist consultant come out to go through this litany of requirements you have to do in order to get things in as business records. But it's really rare that you have to do them because they're so straightforward and people stipulate, but not Team Trump. So there was this pretty boring bureaucratic testimony. It wasn't clear to me that the jury saw it as boring. And if they did, you might be worried they would blame it on the prosecution. Anyway, it didn't seem to happen. And the payoff in each case, the deposition itself was just Trump acknowledging that he's been married to Melania. That's a piece of testimony I guess they would need to set up the whole crisis of it. And then some pretty strong evidence, I thought, testimony from his rallies about saying that all the accusations by women are false. He doesn't know them at all. And I thought pretty tellingly, he actually said, if 5% of the people believe it or 10% of the people believe it, we don't win. So really framing it, the women coming forward as a kind of electoral concern. So that really, fit in with the overall story they're telling. And then a pretty important witness came to the fore, the lawyer who represented Karen McDougal and then came to represent Stormy Daniels and Keith Davidson. And he went through the whole negotiation involving McDougal, ending and we'd heard about it already through David Pecker. So much of it corroborated what they had said, but the amount of money, her wanting to sort of rejuvenate or her career, and do some maybe home beauty products, all that, the way in which she was essentially kind of used, because what it was really about was to just get her story and bury it. Now, it did transpire that she knew she wanted to bury it, but there seemed to be, in Davidson's eyes anyway, a kind of tug of war between the National Enquirer and ABC. ABC wanted to publish it, and he said that there was a fair bit of kind of pressure she was getting to publish it. He used, in what he called in his own terms, a very unfortunate term, but he said the estrogen media. What he meant is a lot of women who I think were anti-Trump or maybe part of the a Me Too movement wanted this out in public, and she was getting that pressure, but she ultimately opted to keep it hidden, not to subject herself to the unwanted publicity, and to get the money, because you don't get money for giving a truthful story to ABC. Anyway, they go through that. The next comes the Stormy Daniels, the beginning of that story. And it's kind of interesting. It turned out that she had Stormy Daniels, through her agent, who the Davidson knew, tried to shop the story in like 2011, and nobody was biting. But then comes the Access Hollywood tape. And basically, they portrayed really well the urgency there. There were a whole series of emails that were kind of businesslike and just advanced, the narrative. But these were like Davidson and somebody at National Enquirer saying, "He is so fucked," was the way it started. Wave the white flag, it's all over. They really saw it as the end of the line, when Access Hollywood came out. And so it made it very persuasive that all of a sudden Stormy Daniels was a subject of real interest, and could sell her story. She gets involved at first through someone else, but basically Davidson is kind of pushed to deal with Michael Cohen, which he said nobody wanted to deal with him. There's really been all kinds of snipes at Cohen, but he agreed to take it on, and but they'd already decided the amount. So we'll fill in those holes a little bit more. But Davidson basically receives the money. And just as things were ending, they were talking about a contract they put together with pseudonyms. Obviously, they want to hide the true purpose. Trump goes by, I think, Dennis Davidson, and it's all very cloak and dagger and phony baloney, and very clear, a matter of subterfuge and keeping things hidden. So, to date, I think they've had this spiraling, reinforcing account of going, right up to the precipice with the Stormy Daniels story now happening, and Michael Cohen, paying the money. So we maybe will hear from Stormy herself. I think we will hear from Michael Cohen, but they've kind of laid the tracks in a very solid narrative about the obvious, electoral panic, make it clear what was going on and why, and have done that effectively. Now the whole other half of the case will be the papers that they may be. Their obvious goal is to get a sort of 360-degree coverage of what Cohen would otherwise say, so they don't have to rely on him. And as I say, they themselves have fronted the notion that he is a challenging guy. So I'm sure the jury is very curious about, hearing from him. But they've served things up very well, I think, to, here comes Stormy, and it's just exigent to pay her off and keep this from coming out, because the whole campaign, was hanging by the thinnest of threads, and anything else would absolutely doom it. And indeed, many people thought Access Hollywood itself was the kind of final blow. So at best, it was hanging by a thread. So that's where, we are at the end of day 9. And, we're looking ahead and trying to figure out how much time they have left, but, thinking about probably more custodial witnesses and some boring stuff of going through papers. But, I think we'll probably see Stormy Daniels. I know we'll see Michael Cohen, and they'll probably want to bury him in the middle as best they can. And there'll be probably a couple day anyway, cross-examination. Hope Hicks occurs to me could be a really good final witness. But the basic notion, I think, will be to tell the story and have Cohen be relied on minimally for just a few things that they need to get through him. So a basic, pretty good day. And I think in general, in a reinforcing fashion, the narrative from Dino the doorman to the holy shit moment, we are in all kinds of trouble of Access Hollywood, and here comes Stormy Daniels. Those tracks have been really well laid down. And, as I say, Cohen will come forward and they'll try to savage him. But if you think about it, what are they really going to say? Even if you didn't believe him, what possible reason could they try to present for why he's going out, getting his own money, paying her $130,000 and the like? The narrative, the theme that the defense is going to try to propound is not clear to me yet, and maybe won't even be. Maybe they'll just try to say, there's a reasonable doubt here. But so that's where things stand. No court tomorrow. Thursday, there'll be a little hearing on a few contempt counts, but he handled 10 of those today. I'll tell you about them in a different YouTube, but that's where we stand after day 9. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.